You know, when God puts a calling on your life, I think most people assume it'll be easy to get there. That was not our story. As a couple, we felt called to ministry early on, and we knew it, and God made it so clear. So then together, we served families, we served youth, we served college students.
And what we loved to do together until the day that I got a phone call and everything changed.
So what was diagnosed as a teenager as just a concussion, we now have come to realize was severe brain trauma. 6 different areas of my brain that are damaged and dysfunctional. All of a sudden I was collapsed. I wasn't able to move. I wasn't able to talk. Things in my body started failing, and here we were handed this life that was now really fragile, and we didn't know what to expect with it.
There were emotions of frustration and questioning and trying to figure out why this is happening, and pairing that with what we had chosen to do with our lives and in our professional pursuits and the way we engaged in community and felt like we earnestly were following the call that God had placed on our lives. And then all of this happened.
We lived in and out of hospitals for over 2 years. Countless ambulance rides, weeks at a time away from the kids in the hospital, and nobody could really pinpoint what was going on except they knew it was scary and it wasn't right. I physically couldn't read my Bible for over a year. And so the only thing I had to go back to was either Alan reading scripture to me, somebody sending a text and him reading that, or what I had memorized.
As you feel like maybe we're turning a corner, maybe things are starting to get better, and then you find yourself watching an ambulance drive away with your wife again, and just the feeling of, is it ever gonna stop? Are we ever gonna be done with this?
I found myself in a place where I had to grieve the loss of so many hopes and dreams that I had as a wife, of what I would be, as a mom, as a pastor, and you're just looking at this life that you didn't expect and that you didn't want. I remember at the time I was pregnant, and we were in the middle of praying together and praying for God to bring healing and bring his peace and answers, and Alan just pounding on that rail and saying, but God, like, we don't want this. And I remember realizing that God he's not this God that's just there to show off his power, but that he was this God that became so present and real, and that I needed to know that he was my peace.
For us, it's an interesting journey to be in the middle of when you think about a marriage, and it's hard. None of this is easy, and I think back to the very beginning of our marriage, months into it, we went to Refreshing Your Marriage conference, and we're equipped with some great tools of how to communicate and how to do marriage well there, and how to navigate rough waters. And long before we had kids, we were putting in place these strongholds in our marriage that we'd really tie down into when storms came. That we prepared for the worst moments before they came, and then when the worst moments came, we went to him.
I feel like this journey continues to force me to be more vulnerable than I ever thought I would be with my kids. And it's interesting because I can remember back to hearing things from the Refreshing Your Marriage conference, or some of the books we've read from Confident Parenting or Pass It On, and talking about the beauty of being vulnerable and being able to realize what's going on in your own heart, or maybe your own past and the way you were raised, and to not be afraid to have those conversations with your kids. And with our health, it is even more so like forced to that, and it's been so beautiful. And that just because some new disabilities are in the picture doesn't mean you still can't serve God. Doesn't mean God's not going to use you. In fact, he's going to continue to use you, and it's just going to look different.
The way we pursue the next generation now is we pursue them with a hope to bring them the tools that we had that helped us survive. We talk a lot more holistically about life with students than we used to. Our ministry used to be at a church, at a youth group, and it's now become a lifestyle. It's actually probably deepened our call to ministry, that it is just a lifestyle, and as we meet people in our goings, we figure out how we can minister to them